Hi guys, welcome to Learn Electronics Repair. A customer bought me a couple of set-top boxes and said could I have a quick look at them. He says they're not worth a lot, but if I get them working for him, he will be happy. So this is the first one. Look, it's all waggling around. So this one is probably going to be fairly easy to fix, you would think, if that's supposed to be attached to the board or something. The other one is 5G Android TV box, basically. Okay, I'm not sure what's wrong with that one, but let's look at this one first. So, looks like we have to take the rubber feet off this to get inside it. I'm hoping this one is going to just be a simple soldering job. But they're okay, these jobs. I mean, if I can fix them quickly, charging €20, €25, something like that, then it's job done, move on to the next one. If not, I won't waste too much time looking at them. And this guy brings me quite a few other things to repair, laptops and such like, so I'm happy to keep in good favour with him if I can. This is not Handy Andy from the phone shop, by the way. This is somebody else I know. Let's have a look what we've got. We've got a little button, update key. Oh yeah, that's got like a little hole in the case, so you must be able to push it with something. And there we are. So this one, quite literally, this fell off the board. And it looks a little bit worse for the wear as well, actually. Let's see if we can fix it. Yeah, so that piece is obviously from inside the connector. This area of this pad is just being ripped off, basically. Let's have a look at the other bit. Yeah, so we can see the broken copper bit from there, and the other bit goes inside here, by the looks of it. Yeah, I'm not sure exactly what connects to what. Let's put the power pack into here and let's see where we can see any voltage coming out of it. So we just connect onto the connector itself. You can probably see what I'm just doing there. 5 volts. Okay, so I'll attach the connector to the remains of the socket. Okay, do we have any voltage? So we have this connection here, we have one there, and that's 5 volts across there to there. Does it? I think it was. Yeah. And to there. So this effectively is part of the ground. Okay. So the 5 volts is on those 2 pins. So we probably don't have to worry too much about that broken thing. We just need to get a connection on these 2. And that should probably work, I would think. So I'll try and bend this thing inwards. We can probably get us back inside the connector again. I guess it's bent sideways. I mean, we can have a look. Okay, here's our connector. No, it just effectively fits over there. So basically, I think if we can solder these 2 pads down here, and we can strap a bit of thick wire from here onto this part, it should be fine. I'm not too worried about that bit at all. Let's just clean this up. Okay. That come clean. Bit of fresh solder. Okay. I'll put fresh solder on both actually. Go again. Okay. That one. And then I think I'll solder this on and scrape away at that bit to get a connection. In fact, no, I'll actually scrape away at this a little bit first. Bit of bare copper here. Yeah, it looks like metal. We'll soon find out if we can tin that, yeah. Bit of flux. Bit of solder. And that's tinned nicely. So we have a connection there, or we will have. This can now just go back on here, get it fairly straight. Okay. As I say, I'm really not concerned about that bent bit there. I think I could actually just take that off, but I'm not worried about it. Let's see if we can solder this, get it flat. Okay, so probably just use my fingers actually. There. Okay. Other one. Nicely soldered. And then this one I think is just a matter of putting a stiff bit of wire across here. I don't think there's anything there to solder to. Oh, actually I've managed to get the solder to flow. No, it's not making a good connection. We'll just put a bit of wire there. Once again, a bit more flux. You can never really put too much of this stuff on. Get it to an angle that I can work. Okay, and this is just a leg off an old resistor basically. And I'm fairly sure I have a good connection there. Yeah. Okay, so that's a pretty good job mounted on there. You may have noticed I have a new tip on my soldering iron. This is another BC3. I did use it yesterday for some salvage work. So it's not the first time I've used it, but it was the first time on video, okay? The old one I still have. You can see this is somewhat worse for the wear now. I thought it would probably pack up eventually, but this has lasted me since 2019 and it's still going, so I have a spare one. But now I'll probably order one more as well, and then I have this plus one spare. Best time to order a spare one or another one is when you don't actually need one, yeah? We have the power supply connector, then we know the power supply is actually working. Okay. Actually it's reading 5 volts. I just didn't have a good connection on it. Let's see, so this has some LEDs on the front of it. Yeah, and it powers up, and that went from red to green, so I'm confident this is actually working. Obviously I can try it on my TV. We can give this a go then, so we'll just put the capture card on and have it plugged into it. Okay, let's just power this up and see what happens. Okay, power in. Lights on, oh there we go, so it's definitely starting up. Not sure if it will boot further than that. I guess it probably will if we just wait a little bit. Yeah, it's starting up there. You can see it's booting up. So that one looks good, I think. Let's look at the other one. That'll probably be a bit more difficult to repair, but we can have a look, see if it's possible. Here's the other one. Let's see what this is doing. He gave me a power supply with it. So I think the first thing we'll do is actually check that we have any output from the power supply before we delve any deeper. See what we have. Yeah, we have 5 volts on that. That's looking promising. What's this one doing? So we'll just plug it in. Well, if there's any lights on it, they're not lighting up. That's the first thing we can say. This one seems to be rather dead. I would assume some light somewhere should come on. I'm thinking again there's probably screws underneath these little feet. And I am right. Okay. Well, one L-shaped PCB. Looks like these are probably LEDs down here, by the looks of it. Although I don't really see exactly how they shine through the case. Let's try it. Nothing lighting up. Let's look for some voltages inside it. 5 volts first. Yes, we have 5 volts coming in. I can see a buck regulator coil here. So that's another good place to look. There's a voltage regulator here. Let's zoom down a little bit. Okay, so a little bit closer. I thought I could feel something getting a bit warm actually. There's something getting a little bit warm in this area, not hot. You can have like something, yeah, just trying to get a little bit warm on here. Okay, what do we have here? 0.37, that's rather low. That's rather warm. I think we may have like a, not exactly a short but a low resistance here somewhere. Let's have a look. Yeah, about 5 ohms. Yeah, it's about 5 ohms. That seems quite low, and this was getting quite warm. That makes me think probably the processor's dead on this. Most likely the thermal camera will tell us actually. Let's try that. Actually guys, we don't even need the thermal camera because we can see what's happened here. So this is one very fried looking buck converter. This is the coil. We're at about 0.3 of a volt. It's hard to read that, but I think I actually can read it. It says ADF2A on it. ADF2A. Okay, I think I've shined a bit of light across it. You can probably read it now. ADF2A. So we could do with figuring out what that is. Now, I don't know what voltage this thing runs at. But what I think I will do is remove this chip. This is obviously the buck controller. And see if the low resistance on the coil goes away. If it does, this is possibly what the problem is. But it could also be that some effectively low resistance in the load, the processor has caused that chip to blow by drawing too much current. Well, let's have a look and let's also see if we can figure out what this component actually is. Okay, I've removed the chip, bit of hot air. Let's see if this low resistance is still here. Ground coil. No, it's up to 63 ohms, so that's good. That suggests probably that the fault was in that little regulator. Probably, we can't say for certain. Let's have a look. So this pin I think is ground. Oh, yeah, connecting to ground, that's ground. The coil, where does that go to? Looks like it goes to that one. So we can say that the output is on this pin. I'm not sure which end we start with this one with the markings. Looks like a little notch there. 1, 2, 3. So it looks like pin 3 is the output. Pin 2 is ground. Okay. And then one of these will be like the power coming in from the 5 volts. That one. Okay. Pin 4. And then the other one will be a feedback and one will be the enable. That's basically what you've got. And this, guys, is where a bit of experience comes into play with this. Nobody can teach you this, but again, it's a thing you can learn in time. It's just familiarity. The same way as some of you will recognize, for example, a 3-legged transistor that says 7805 or 7812 on. Well, no, it's a positive voltage regulator just because you've seen those type of transistors before, but they're not the voltage regulators. And you may well know that 7912 and 7905 are the same but negative. And the same applies to this chip. There are, if you like, kind of generic ones that you see often that may not be the exactly right one, but are using these sort of boxes and they may well work. So let's carry on, yeah? I'm not totally sure what this part actually is from the part number. I have had a look and nothing came up particularly, but I think I've got a good idea of what it's likely to be, and I'll show you why I'm thinking what I am thinking. And I think it's likely to be this device. So this comes in a 5-pin and a 6-pin version. It's called SY8009, and you find these quite a lot in Android type boxes and other set-top boxes that run on 5 volts in particular. And I'm fairly sure it's this one. Now the reason I'm fairly sure is because of the pin out. So we know we have ground on pin 2, we know we have the coil connected to pin 3, we know we have the 5 volts in connected to pin 4, and then we have 2 more pins. Now pin 5 says feedback, pin 1 says enable. If our chip suits this package, then we should find from pin 5 a resistor somewhere in the tens of kilo ohms, probably going to both ground and 5 volts. That effectively is the voltage divider that sets the output. So I think it's that one. Pin 1 pulls high to turn on, so I'm expecting that just to be connected to 5 volts, basically, maybe through a resistor. So we can actually have a little bit of a look further. Maximum supply voltage is 6. These will run quite happily on 5 volts. Now I have these in stock, but I have the 6-pin version. Well, this doesn't really matter, because if you look, pin 5 has no connection, NC. All the other pins are the same. So I don't see any reason why I can't fit the 6-pin one on there. And let's see if this actually works. Well, just before we do that, we'll have a look to see what we can see on pin 5, the resistances to ground and 5 volts, and what's on 1. If it matches, the chances are this is the right one. But it is something of a guess, as I was saying. And this is our chip, so we can have a look. We already know we have the ground on pin 2. We already know we have the coil on pin 3. We already know we have power coming in. Pin 1 we'd expect to go to 5 volts, possibly via a resistor. Yeah, I think we have some connection there. Looks like there's a capacitor charging somewhere. And then this pin, which is pin 6, would be the feedback, so it would read resistance to ground 50k and probably a similar resistance to 5 volts 70k. Yeah, just settling capacitor charge again. So I think that probably is in actual fact the feedback pin, because the way we're seeing that, and we're fairly confident that is the enable. So I'm going to put my chip on here. Yeah, this is not an expensive device, so I'm going to try this out of interest as much as anything else, and we will no doubt learn something, like not to mess with stuff when we don't really know. Yeah, but I have every reason to suspect this will be the correct chip. This is just the 6-pin version, and we can stick it into here. Okay, I've added some flux. Now let's just get some solder onto one of the pads. I have to come in with it this way around. Okay. Now hopefully I can bring the chip in. I'm going to do this left-handed. I may end up doing it right-handed, but we'll bring it in like so. Okay. And then we'll just melt that pad again. And hopefully this will stick down. Yeah. That's now tagged down by one leg. I can push down on it. Go again. Unfortunately it moves slightly. but we can deal with it. Okay, and it's now basically stuck down. It's not exactly level, but it's pretty close. And soldering the remaining pins really shouldn't be a problem. Okay, I'm going to turn it round to do the other ones, just coming from the other direction. The inductor's slightly in the way, but I'm pretty sure I can get in there. As I've mentioned many times, you do not need a fine tip soldering iron to do this. In fact, it's probably harder. The middle pin, that's going to be the awkward one. Yeah, we got a solder bit. It was very awkward to get down there, but we should be able to clear that up easily enough. Yeah. A little bit more flux. If it won't come off this way now, we'll use a little bit of braid. Yeah, that's great, guys. You see, a little bit of flux is your friend. Okay, let's clean that up and then let's see how it looks. Okay, guys, you can see it is slightly crooked, as I said, but it's soldered well. We have a dot there, pin 1 to pin 1. Okay, one pin going nowhere, but that was a no connection anyway. Just shine a torch down on it. Yeah, there's no solder bridge in there, that's okay. Right, let's see if that will actually work. I have my bench power supply set to 5 volts. I'm going to use this because I don't quite know what will happen with this. If I just short it, yeah, it's set to 2 amps, which is the same rating as the original power supply. So we can connect this up. Okay, there are some LEDs on at this end, so that may give some indication. Power it up again. Right, so let's plug this in and let's have a look to see what we get. Okay, well, it's drawing a little bit of power. Okay, not a lot. What voltage have we got on this thing now? It obviously hasn't powered up. I mean, that's not enough power for this to boot up. Okay, let's have a look. So this is the output of the coil. 0.29. I think that's getting warm again. I think this actually has some problem. We'll just get a thermal camera. Let's have a look at it. Well, in actual fact, we can see something is getting very hot down here, which is another voltage regulator, this one. Let's have a look. This is what was getting hot, AMS 1117S33. That's a 3.3 volt fixed voltage regulator. Delivers about 0.8 of an amp, something like that. Let's have a look. So if we refer to a data sheet, which I have done, pin 1 is ground, 3 is in, and 2, all the tab is out. So we can see this is ground, pin 1. This is the output. And it's not reading a low resistance. This is the input. Let's measure the voltage around this. I'll just power it back up again. Okay, what have we got? Well, coming in we have voltage range, that's what we have. Yeah. Coming in we have 5 volts and going out is 3.3. So that's actually working. It's quite possible this just gets warm anyway. It's not feeling hot. And the one that we fitted, 5 volts coming in. The output obviously is still very low, but it's not drawing much current, 0.18 of an amp, so I know we don't have any shorts anywhere. It's likely this isn't the correct chip. It was a guess. I don't think it was a bad guess, but it obviously doesn't appear to be the correct one. Yeah, feedback pin has 0.1 of a volt on it. We know this is enable, which has 0.2 of a volts on it. So if this was the chip I thought it would be, we'd expect the enable pin here to have 5 volts on it. I think that is actually the wrong chip. It was a guess. So what I'll have to do is see if I can actually find the correct one, and then let's see if this works. Interestingly, I can actually get the blue light to flash by pushing on this chip. How about that? How about that? I've actually just got my finger on the buck regulator chip. Obviously adding a bit of resistance somewhere. What's the voltage reading coming out of it now? Let me see if I get the finger on there. I probably need to use 3 hands for this. Ground coil, it's coming out of it. 1.09 volts. I think I've kind of like managed to enable it. That's about the voltage you expect coming out of it. Let's connect to HDMI on this one, see if we can get a picture out of it. Okay. One of the maddest things I've ever done, I think, on the channel. Let's see what this does. Blue lights on. Hey! What do you reckon, guys? So, I think I've just managed to enable it by putting my finger on that. Yeah. Shall we try and connect 5 volts to that, the enable pin via a resistor, and see what it does? Hey, what do you think? Because that's definitely booting up. Let's try it. I'll take my finger off, obviously it will stop. Yeah, it's shut down. So, let's take a resistor, I don't know, a 10k or something, from the enable pin to the 5 volts and see what this does. Okay guys, so you can see what I've done. This is a 100k resistor. I just decided that if my skin resistance was enough to enable this chip, probably that would work fine. I've tagged one end onto the 5 volts, the other end onto pin 1 of the chip. Let's see what it does. Okay, connected up. You'll see the blue light if it enables anyway. Let's go for it. Well, the blue light's on. Android. So, you know, guys, it's been said on this channel, Richard has magic fingers. Well, I think in this case I actually did have. Yeah. How mad is that? There we go. Booted up. So this is another working one. I was almost right on the chip. It's just that the one I'm replacing didn't effectively have the enable pin in the same way. I've just tagged that on and now it enables, yeah. Okay guys, I hope you enjoyed that one. I enjoyed that one, yeah, I really enjoyed that one. I'll let you know how it goes on. I'll give it back to the guy, say, hey, get me try it and see how long it lasts, yeah. See if it works. In the meantime, I'll just say, comments below please, and I'm looking forward to seeing all of you very soon on another Learn Electronics Repair video. Ciao for now guys.